Alright, let's start with the Bestial Bay Council. Let's talking with Krelian. Do it, sir.
Okay. What do you mean he's still alive?
How dare.
Yes.
Ridiculous! Didn't Ramsus shut him down?
She was also on the gear that Ramsus shut down. I won't have her die.
Jova?
But there is already a mother. Although she may be the anti-type as long as the current mother exists.
As I see it, that is not complete.
Edge.
Quite picky, aren't you? Didn't you say you threw away all human emotions?
Hear what you think. Anyway, as far as he is concerned, I will put Ramsus into him. Any objections? Where is he presently?
Laughing
Where is that
mad about
trash?
how he won.
Sir?
Petronac is destroyed, but part of the memory cube is still active. We should still be able to locate individuals.
Oh, shit.
Wait a moment. He has left the crash site and he's heading towards Ignis.
I see, so he has left the air. Man,
That's what I
he's-
just said!
That means it is only a matter of time before the seal is broken. That goddamn piece of trash.
Jova?
Did you say something?
It's nothing. Just sit there and wait for the good news. That's all you know how to do anyway.
What about retrieving the girl? The key is already beginning to resonate. The time of the resurrection is near.
We can get the girl anytime. It doesn't have to be now. Let's take our time.
Well, I can't wait till one of these guys betray each other.
So let's start with the
Well,
summation.
remember, Deds, the Emperor kind of already has gone behind their backs at this point.
On my way to Ignis, I re-encountered him. Karan Ramsus.
Oh, that just happened, I guess!
Ramsus once again stood in my way in his omnigear, Vendetta. It was an unavoidable battle. I released a new function that was added to my Mark II gear, System Id.
Is this what Promised Neverland was like at the end of its series?
No.
Don't worry, you actually have to do this fight. It's not just a cutscene, thankfully.
That said, why not just have the scene
There
occur
it is.
naturally?
I was gonna
Because-
ask, like, is
Because you
this...
start the battle normally with that, you transition immediately. What happened is that they just essentially cut away the dialogue of the encountering Ramsus. So let me essentially tell you how System Id works. You activate it by consuming a bit of fuel and you gain 3 types of attacks. Okay, 4 to an extent. 2 new death blow skills, which are really the ones you should be using, and 2 ether kind of spell. 1 thunder type that is thunder type, and 1 that it's instead fire type. They're not really useful, so you might as well just go with the death blow because they're much more useful. And upgrade-wise, in terms of actually the systems that the gear would have, it is on par, with the rest of say, the Elan Vari. So while it's not technically an Omni gear, in terms of power level, it is actually increased.
So, is the idea that this is using some of id's latent energy to power the gear up?
Yes. Again, the idea is to use that kind of power normally it has, but using the wrist that Torres gave to us, suppressing his personality so he doesn't actually shows up on his own.
And in regards to, this battle, is like the idea is like, well, okay, they let us in with the narration, but then we're gonna get like a flashback that shows the proper dialogue of how Ramsus came in, or is this one of those moments you were warning us about that had to be cut away?
Again, Jova, like I said, while it started deceptively, this too is kind of like all of this. It's more of a glorified narration with a couple of gameplay stuff spruced in between.
I guess it feels like such a weird thing to do, because, why not just have it be like, Ramsus, just have it play out naturally. Ramsus finds Faye, and then we get the narration before the battle begins about how he had to use the id system because, more or less kind of a tutorial for that. But still, though, I don't know, Mako, Ramsus finding Faye again should be like a big, heavy moment, given how Ramsus clearly has it out for Faye, so shouldn't we see a shock and outrage at Faye being alive? Or if anything, wonder why Ramsus was doing here.
No, remember, Ramsus is a loser, so he doesn't even deserve that privilege.
He's trash, so...
Seriously though, what was Ramsus even doing here?
He was he's trying to stop Faye from getting too deep, so I suppose says. Ramsus' absolute confidence was shattered,
As was his spine.
leaving only his cry of disbelief and resentment. Ramsus' machine disappearing to a sea of foliage.
Wait,
somehow.
what? How'd that
So
happen?
he hasn't actually
Why
changed
he was
much
so
personality.
fixated on me. I know not why, but he did say this. Go ahead, Jova.
If only you didn't exist.
Yes, I love you too.
I don't.
I'm not a cuck.
Okay, I'm
not
assuming this isn't the last we see of Ramsus.
No, don't worry about that.
Okay,
Alright,
fair
let's
enough.
start with the narration. It's up to you, Shiroi.
In order to disperse the nanomachines, Emeralda and I headed for one of the ruins of the Zeboim civilization, the mass driver facility.
This
my
is
God.
everything that I mentioned. Part of Emeralda's arc and backstories are tied to the Zeboim civilization, and this is one of them. Supposedly this dungeon being a factory of mass weapons of
Dio.
that. Hold on.
Fortunately, the facility was still active, which allowed us to proceed to the central control room with little difficulty.
That is
Dio.
generally true. Being a Zeboim facility, there's no guards around. Yes, Jova?
You compare this to Nier. This reminds me of those big bouts with the text that had to be done because of the cutout
to an
content.
extent as well. Go on.
Along the way, we saw various missiles and giant rockets that were created during the Zeboim era. Is this what you meant by the budget very blatantly looking like it was?
I love-
Yeah, that's exactly what I
tanking.
said.
They stood like tombstones of that ancient civilization. It was a graveyard for a race of people who destroyed each other over pride and arrogance.
Thankfully, we will learn actually a bit more about actually the part of Zeboim, destruction on its own. It won't be much, but it will be something at least.
Mother, this is not a fun story. Once arriving at the central control room, we met up with Shitan, who helped us activate the mass driver. He succeeded in launching the capsule containing the nanomachines, which would release the seal limiter.
Yeah,
Pedro, could you take over? Actually,
Yeah,
I
it
gotta-
gets better.
I gotta say, Shiroi, the
Well, actually-
CBB's...
Actually, it's actually over with now.
I
Anyway,
gotta say, Shiroi,
okay.
the CBB's bedtime story read by Elheim Van Houten isn't really that exciting.
Elahim.
I was actually going to say, I love how it's now to a point where we literally have the characters sitting on a chair on a stage to sell you, okay, this is what we couldn't properly film
again,
for the
this
budget.
is the way the way the game chose to represent the summation, which admittedly is a bit better than Nier's. You know
know what this reminds-
text to
you know that-
black.
You know what
yeah,
that
I
bit
was gonna
reminded-
say, at least this has
True.
images, but go on.
You know what that bit reminded me of, actually?
Good
the-
lord, what is happening in there?
That bit just then with the narration. It reminded me of the 90s release of the unfinished Doctor Who story Sharda, where any bit they hadn't filmed, they had Tom Baker stand in the museum and describe it to us.
All right, so the limiter, the nanomachines do their job being spruced by the mass driver all over the planet.
Hey look, Faye, it's the remains of your village.
Yeah, it's
Honestly-
symbolic to showcase they happen all over the world.
Honestly, Dribs, I'm not surprised they didn't just
Yours,
scrap the
Samantha.
episode entirely and make it an audio drama of some kind.
They did, actually.
So, I'm just gonna say this, there are probably some things we could have...
Nissan.
Yeah. There are probably
go on.
some things we probably could have cut out to give this stuff more proper time to show, like Maria. Like, no offense to Maria, but her arc was, well,
Like I
just
said,
so
I
good.
think replacing her with Margie or combining her character with Emeralda could have made it work overall. So I agree on that. But next video narration. This one should be on a black background, so it should be more useful to you.
The latest re-release actually, I can't say after this bit.
The nanomachines that were scattered into the upper atmosphere begin to multiply and spread throughout the whole of the world. The nanomachines glittered in the sunlight, flowing like a large river in the sky.
They did another release of it in like the past decade where they did the bit they didn't feel about innovation. They did this bit at the end where they got the actual Tom Baker to do a scene in the TARDIS, and well,
Huh.
yeah.
The glitter would remove the bonds restraining everyone. It was to be our light of hope for regaining back our true freedom.
Remember,
I don't
the
know,
limiters were
honey. The
implanted
movie
by
Glitter turned out to be
Solaris,
pretty bad, honestly.
So the idea to actually free everyone and mass to help them against the cause of Solaris will be actually helpful. But before we see the result, we have another problem. Solaris' mobile surface supremacy weapon invaded the area with great force. Shevat and Nissan starter gear battalions were no match against it. It was only a matter of time before the Solaris mobile weapon arrived in Nissan.
This remake of Go the Fuck to Sleep is weird.
After we pushed back the Solarian gear units, we headed for Nortune, to the Kislev capital's administrative district. We went there to obtain our one and only means of standing up against the mobile weapon.
And what might that be?
We
Save
will-
current data.
You'll see in a second, actually. Go ahead, Jova. This is basically for Bart.
The Kislev's capital's Nortune's central administrative district itself was a secret battleship constructed by Bart's ancestor. Why am I speaking in the third person?
Because it deserves more for him to be said by Renfei.
The existence of a secret battleship remained hidden. Later, the ship was turned into a section of the Kislev Imperial capital during the founding of the Empire. You're right! This should be spoken by Bart instead of Faye, damn it. Uncovering this truth from some ancient records, Bart activated the secret battleship in order to fight against the Solarian mobile surface supremacy
So
weapon.
yeah, hold on, actually.
The sand cruiser Yggdrasil was actually the center of command, and also the main secret weapon of the craft. Awakening from 500 years of dormancy, its true form appeared before us. Commanded by its new master, the secret battleship stood before the mobile weapon with all of us inside of it. You know, in the context of Faye saying this all, talk about a mouthful.
Remember when we traveled through the Kislev Palace and it looked a bit weird, particularly how the elevator did? That was foreshadowing for this. The entire palace turns out to be basically a mech, transformer mech in disguise. And,
Why was this not something we could see in present? Like, okay.
And Bart will have to pilot him personally to fight against this thing, so let's see it in action.
This feels like we're getting a recap of some incredibly awesome moments. Which we are, technically, but, like, damn, still.
Man, you should. This battle was so cool. You should have been there.
No, the battle will actually be another case where the battle is playable, thankfully.
So another omnigear.
No, this time is an actual, basically, it's a transformer, Jova, or like a Megazord. Look at that. And I know what you're thinking. Well, could this be cut out in place to someone else? Unfortunately, not, because it's gonna be important for the climax of the game, essentially.
I mean, it's flipping cool, so honestly, I'd have just rather that something else got cut out so we could have expanded more on this.
Also, that junk.
Oh my.
Transformers, Revenge of the
Super
Fall.
Dimensional Gear Yggdrasil 4. And you'll just be able to see just how awesome this thing is.
All right, transformation complete. Come on, monster, let's go. It's morphin' time. And now we're seeing someone else's
There it
junk.
is. Fourth Hurricane.
Whoa!
Whoa, God, it's
Those polygons. It's like a hedgehog having a seizure.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, the Fortress technically works kind of like the rest of the gears, but it has a set of exclusive dev blows and unique skills. Like, for example, the Yggdrasil cannon. It consumes 9,000 units of... it uses the Yggdrasil as a fucking gun!
That is awesome!
Just the flex.
And again, while this fight is not, is not really that hard overall, it's not a scripted sequence. You still have to defeat this guy. It's just the fact that this, the Transformer, Palace is something that is so basically unstoppable that you're basically playing on easy mode on this.
Oh God, could you
hold on.
could you imagine? They're reading the story, but if you fail the mission, the character says, "And then I died." The end. Hey, that's not how the story goes.
Yes, Jova?
Oh, sorry.
Tio, please tell me there weren't segments with this awesome mech also cut out of the story.
No.
Okay,
When,
so...
when he will show up again, it will be actually showcased and not narrated.
Oh, no. I get that. What I mean is, like, were there segments of a story involving this mech that
Not
got
that
cut
I know.
out? Okay, then so...
Alright, time to see the world though. The Solaris mobile weapon was destroyed, which brought a sigh of relief to the continent of Ignis. Peace was signed, and after some 500 years of division, the land of Ignis once again became united.
Wow.
Oh, that was easy!
Something really major to be summed up like that.
Excitement spread from Ave, Nisan, Kislev, Shevat. The sky shimmered as if to celebrate. By the end of the valley, Cheetah and Elly and Emeralda, the nanomachines had been dispersed into the atmosphere. It's like a dream coming true.
Just waiting for the other shoe to
That was
drop.
when disaster struck. Our songs of victory were replaced by the sound of total pandemonium.
What
Because
now?
in reality, it's a fucking nightmare. In
Whoa.
the beginning, we had no idea what had transpired. We witnessed inexplicable phenomena. People from all parts of the globe began to mutate in abnormal forms.
Oh.
It seemed to be triggered when the nanomachines removed the limiter seal that was placed on humankind by creating the past. The human form with its innate ability is released.
So we
This
kinda
is
made
what
a
they
big
wanted, though,
mistake.
isn't it?
That's when I remember what Hammer had said back in Solaris. His words were, "What becomes of the normal humans?"
Oh yeah, we really should have thought of that, huh?
Oops.
Fine.
So we just made things worse.
And we didn't know about that. They were believe we were doing good thing.
And this kind of happened off screen.
And then
Well, okay,
everyone
technically
died.
on screen, but
So
still.
they are naturally germinating because the resurrection of God is near.
Those who will become the body of our servant. I never knew so many would exist, even without using the key. Jova.
But some of them still have not yet begun to germinate.
Pedro.
Are they not destined to be the flesh of God?
Edge.
Or perhaps those are the enemies of God.
Leaves.
Let us reactivate the strategic points of the Soylent.
At any rate, they are just incomplete mutants, and they are useless now in their unfinished form. Jova.
God's apostles, there cannot be any harm in having too many of them. So essentially, we just jump-started the apocalypse.
Kinda.
Way
We
to
did
go,
it. We
guys.
saved
It's still,
the
it's
way.
still not as simple, though. And now a scene with Krelian and someone else in a second.
It's Myung, isn't
Myung.
it? There
It's
we go.
Myung.
The chains that restrained humankind have been removed because of you.
Also, I have to warn you guys, this is about to get slightly topical, believe it or not.
And it's all
I mean,
because of
why
you.
not? We've had everything else in here.
Yeah. Let's just jump off into the deep end.
But that doesn't mean there is anything wrong with our plan.
There's a lot
Right.
going on.
Everything is still under control. In the event of the explosion in the capital, Solaris, I'm monologuing. I had set up a nanomachine virus to diffuse into the atmosphere.
Of course you
I
did.
knew they were eventually going to break the seal, but the timing was a little close for comfort. The current mutations of the humans are an initial response to the virus. Once the virus we spread over the world germinates inside of the humans, they are no longer the same. They change into a controllable form. We need humans that do not depend on the key's invocation in order to awaken. In other words, a beam to take place of the original body of God.
It's like a Trojan horse released at the time of assimilation with God.
So
Don't worry, guys,
technically,
this will actually make sense eventually.
so
I
technically,
promise.
this was all just a last-minute edit made by Krellian. So technically, we weren't doing the world. Krellian did that at the last second.
A literal virus. But isn't it different from what they intended?
Well, this game, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't let them have it their way. The Ark of God is mine, but unfortunately, shit happened.
Either way, it's fine by me.
Man,
Oh,
what
even-
are you planning?
Hell, even the acquisition process was a fucking shitstorm. Yeah, I'm young.
So what, is Crowley just Richard driven mad by all the process of making the game?
Yes.
I will just side with whichever is the more certain one anyway. I literally don't give a shit.
We'll just see how just deep and complex Myang's motivation actually go. But in the next part, instead, we'll just see what that reactivated soil and places that the ministry was mentioning are exactly about. See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.